Monday reaction show, and we have to be honest with ourselves. Arsenal are really kicking themselves in the foot. Absolutely shocking defending from Arsenal. Very, very disappointing performance on Friday night against Southampton. A game that we thought that we were definitely going to win and win comfortably and work on that goal difference against Man City. But once again, the Arsenal that we fear, the old Arsenal, seem to be back. It looks like it's one or two players that gets out of the team, and then unfortunately that is where the squad game comes in. We knew this. We knew there's going to be a little bit of how can I say, little issues when Arsenal changed the team, especially with the way that we've been able to keep the starting lineup fit, other than Jesus for a long period of time. But our number 9 isn't always the issue in terms of how we play, but our left 8, our right back and right winger, so Saka, White. We need Xhaka there for the particular role that he plays, especially with how he combines. And unfortunately, it's with pain in my heart that I'm going to say that it was a diabolical display, a display of someone that hasn't got that bravery in him, and that is unfortunately Fabio Vieira. He's probably a fantastic player. Will he make it in the Premier League? I'm not going to be the one to say he's not for the future, but he's definitely not for the now. I don't know if we really didn't have other options. Could we not play Jorginho and Thomas Partey, because they're not both necessarily the same type of players? I think we could have played Jorginho at the left 8 role. However, Thomas Partey again also didn't show up. So Thomas Partey, Fabio Vieira and Odegaard didn't have great games. Odegaard, because he's got this work rate ability and he likes to be on the ball, but it just didn't work out for him. So he didn't have a great game in terms of shooting capabilities, in terms of his passing. So all those things were little issues. And then Ramsdale had his worst game as an Arsenal player. I don't know what he was thinking. Literally 24 hours ago, David De Gea of Man United did the same in the Europa League. And again, you can't really criticize the players in that sense. You can criticize the end result, but we do want them to play out from the back. We've been playing out from the back all season, but sometimes you just have to, watch your moments. And some people have actually brought up in terms of how Arsenal has been playing over a period of time, especially at home, how we have been conceding loads of chances. I think we've got the third worst defensive record in terms of home games. Arsenal still have a fantastic home record overall, but it's now getting to the crunch time and our defensive capabilities is atrocious. We were awful. So many chances on target, so many chances. I mean, even Wally Walcott looked world class, and you don't really want to criticize a player that played for us. He was actually really good for us in terms of his numbers. A lot of people always used to say he hasn't got a football brain, but he certainly outsmarted our back four on the day. Zinchenko again, not great. So a lot of players were offbeat, and when we really needed it, remember there's a couple of players that's won leagues in this team. The experienced guys again didn't show up. Once again, Saka was good, Martinelli was good, so that's young players that were really good. Gabriel was a little bit off. Holding was off once again. The right back, Ben White, wasn't great. Zinchenko wasn't great. Thomas Partey wasn't great. He again lackadaisical in terms of defensive capabilities, which is strange. He's been brilliant in all facets of the game whole season. He's a league winner with Atletico Madrid. He's got that defensive, supposed to have that defensive strong points from the Atletico Madrid days. But unfortunately, I don't know what is the reason, but a lot of key players didn't show up. Now, the 5 to 10% that Xhaka and Saliba would have given today in terms of defensive stability, and then obviously Saliba's passing, he tends to actually get things going on the right side of attack alongside Ben White and Saka. So that side is crucial for how Arsenal plays. And then Xhaka is absolutely crucial whenever he's out of the team. He's had a couple of dodgy games, fair enough. In the second half of the season, been brilliant the first half, and then here and there dodgy game in the second half of the season, but mostly he's been absolutely vital. So my concern is that some players, in fact at 11 or 12 or 13, is vital for this team. When they are not there, nothing happens. Once again, we can't get Smith Rowe fit. Why did Arteta not bring him up? That he doesn't trust him. So he clearly doesn't trust the guy in terms of his abilities. Obviously, when he has played in small parts this season, he hasn't looked up to it. He simply hasn't. Maybe looks okay in training, I don't know. But for some reason, Arteta just does not want to bring him on. He's a type of player that we haven't got in terms of being able to drive and we've got dribblers. He's a good dribbler, but we've got dribblers, so he's got that ability then to drive from midfield positions. So I don't know. I don't know if I would have played Smith Rowe at the 8. Maybe Arteta doesn't like him in that role. But in terms of just how this game went, and then we needed obviously some sort of defensive stability, but it was chaotic football from Arsenal. We didn't control that game for any second of the game, and yes, we could have won the game at the end with a Trossard hitting the post, and yes, fantastic from Arsenal to show fighting spirit, especially with the fact that after 80 odd minutes the crowd was down and we were 3-1 down. 3 goals from our doing. So that is why everybody's down. That's why everybody's frustrated, angry, pissed off, because it's our fault. We conceded those 3 stupid goals, our own mistakes. So from there onwards, from a defensive standpoint, it's poor. So I don't know. It's very disappointing how Arsenal were not able to control this game against bottom team Southampton. Yes, there was fight from Southampton, and yes, they had that Alcaraz guy that was fantastic in terms of from their standpoint, in terms of how he was able to get the ball off the line. I mean, Arsenal had other chances as well. However, Southampton had other chances as well. So yes, we could have lost this game, maybe somewhere along the line. We will come back to this game, but we will probably come back to this game and the West Ham game and the Liverpool game, as well as the Brentford game where the referee chalked off or the lines weren't drawn. So those are becoming a bit too much games where we have to come back to, despite the fantastic 70% of the season. But we are falling off now, and it doesn't look like one game a week. It's not helping. Other teams are playing every second, third day. Man City, there's talk of them being exhausted, but they're still going. There's going to be a period where they've got 4 games in 8 days, Man City. And yes, they can make changes, but they're still playing most of the main guys, and they're all fit. All Man City's players are fit also. So that's another key factor at the end of the season that is going to play in their hands. So I'm not tipping us to win the league. I'm done with that. But I'm still going to support the team and hope that we can do something. And then obviously the other hope is Man City. They've got loads of games. So somewhere along the line, they are going to drop. Can't see them winning every single game. We have to be ready every time, and you've got difficult games. 2 legs against Real Madrid. They've got the likes of, well, I don't want to say Chelsea, but Chelsea might win 1 game against a big team. They're also playing us, so they might stuff us as well. So you've got Fulham away for Man City. You've got Everton away fighting for their lives. In between 2 Champions League games with Real Madrid. Somewhere along the line, they have to drop. Then, after they get Chelsea at home, this is after the second leg against Real Madrid, also at home, then they have to play the last 2 games of the season before the Champions League possible final and the FA Cup possible final. There's 2 more games after the league is done. However, the FA Cup and Champions League finals are after the league's done, so that won't have an effect. What will have an effect is the Real Madrid games, and then directly after the Chelsea game, they then have 2 tough away games against Brighton and Brentford. So that is the hope. Arsenal's not doing their job, but there is still hope in the sense that they could drop points later on. But I do believe after Wednesday they will be will they be above us? No, they can't be, because it will be, so even if they win, they still won't be above us. However, they will have 2 games in hand and 2 points behind us with 2 games in hand if they do win on Wednesday. So we need to get something at the Etihad. A win will do wonders. This team will then go on to win the league if they can win on Wednesday. So even though I didn't really want to post anything, I'm so pissed off, I will be there on Tuesday evening reviewing what we can do to try to get a win. I want to win on Wednesday. We've drawn enough, haven't we? Haven't lost yet in a while, but we've drawn enough now. So I don't think it's time for us to lose. We've drawn enough. We've lost to City twice this season. We've shown a little bit in the games that we can do something. We've shown a little bit last season at the Emirates when we should have beaten them. So there is something brewing for that Man City game, but the form. We need to have Saliba and Xhaka back. Zinchenko and Thomas Partey, they've been putrid for most of the last 3 games. They're vital, especially in that role. Yes, you could say because of holding, there's problems across the whole back 4. You could say because of the Xhaka situation and Vieira, who just wasn't up to it, unfortunately. That could change things come Wednesday. So Arsenal, they've got it in their hands. They need to go and win at the Etihad. I don't know how, because City once again were fantastic yesterday against Sheffield. I didn't watch the game, but I did see the goals, and obviously until about 40 minutes it was still 0-0. So they are able to preserve energy in the games that they're currently playing. So hopefully Arsenal can do something on Wednesday. In my reaction video, I will still discuss the Arsenal women. That game is coming up soon, so I must still watch that. And then I'll add that to the video. My reaction to the Arsenal women semi-final Champions League game. Barcelona beat Chelsea in the first semi-final yesterday, away from home. So they got an away goal and none conceded going to the Camp Nou. And then Arsenal is away in Germany. Loads of injuries. All our top scorers are injured other than Manum. Captain is out. Vice captain is out. Two best forwards in terms of top 5 in the world are out with ACL injuries. 3 ACL injuries out for the season, out for the World Cup, these ladies. Absolutely everything going against Arsenal women. But in the Champions League semi-final, I'll review that a little bit later. Up you Gunners. Wolfsburg 2, Arsenal 2 in the Women's Champions League semi-final first leg at the Wolfsburg Arena in Germany. And Arsenal women, they continue to defy the odds. A lot of people are obviously not aware, but we have a very successful team from back in the day. And in general, the most successful English team of all time, the Arsenal women, won the league the most, won the League Cup the most, won the FA Cup the most, and they are the only English side to win the Women's Champions League. It was a watered-down version of what it is today, but obviously with all the commercial revenue that comes in, the Champions League is much better than it was back in the day when Arsenal won over 2 legs quite a number of years ago, almost 2 decades I think it is. So a very successful team, and they've been struggling to get back on track because Chelsea women and Manchester City women and now Man United women have poured quite a lot of money into the female teams. So it's a little bit more competitive now, and actually a couple of teams has overtaken Arsenal, especially the Chelsea ladies team. So that is just like a brief history from just to give you a little bit of a taste of what exactly Arsenal women is all about. But this season it's actually been extraordinary. It's the first time that I've covered them properly. I did cover them the last 2 seasons, but from a social media standpoint, and they've been absolutely exceptional. Earlier this season, beating the current reigning defending Champions League champions, Lyon, at Lyon, a place where they don't lose. They haven't lost in years. Smashed them there, 5-1 I think it was. And then unfortunately the adversity started happening where Arsenal lost Beth Mead first of all. Beth Mead is the European footballer, well, second placed footballer of the year. She was the European championship when England beat Germany in the final. She was the player of the tournament, and she's Arsenal, or part of Arsenal's top scorer club. And she got a serious knee injury. I think it was against Man United ladies. Then you had Vivianne Miedema, one of the most scoringest female footballers in the world, and she's our top scorer. Also got a knee injury in the Champions League. I think it might have been the Lyon home game. I'm not 100% certain on that, but I think it was the Lyon home game in the Champions League. Out for the season. Remember, it's a serious, it's ACL, MCL injury, so that means you're out for almost a year. So that means the World Cup that's taking place in Australia and New Zealand in June, July, they are out. So that's 2 key players that have scored 70% of Arsenal's goals in the last 3 years. Beth Mead, Vivianne Miedema, out with serious knee injuries, not just for the entire season, a season where Arsenal are pushing for higher echelons, but also for the Women's World Cup, Netherlands and England respectively. So that's adversity that they had to overcome. They're struggling to beat Chelsea consistently. So what happened was they lost to Chelsea. Well, they drew with Chelsea in the league despite dominating the game at the Emirates Stadium. That was earlier this year. Then they played them a second time at Chelsea's ground in the FA Cup, the Women's FA Cup. Lost there despite having numerous chances to score. And that's also where the theme comes in, where they lost Beth Mead and they lost Vivianne Miedema. It's a number 10/left 8 is the top scorer, and not the strikers or wide forwards. So there's also a problem. Goal scoring has been a problem. Then again, finally they defeated Chelsea 3-1 in the Women's League Cup. So that's basically, they call it the Conti Cup, so that's the female version of the League Cup. So trophy number 1 in for Arsenal this season in from all our teams. And then unfortunately two huge injuries again added to that. So you've got your two top scorers in the last 3 years out, and they bought quite a lot of players in. So obviously these players can't just suddenly compete for a league, compete for a Champions League. They bought in about 5 players and had to bring in a 6th player just to cover. And the 6th player obviously wasn't attached to any club. It was a lady that used to play. She's 37, I think it is. Jodie Taylor played in the States for quite some time. She's now come into the team. Obviously, you could only register, I think, about 2 Champions League players. So 2 of the 5, or 3 of the 5 that was initially signed could be registered for the Champions League. So all this adversity, so it sounds like I'm rambling, but it's adversity, because just think about it, 6 of Arsenal's best players not there. So now we come to the last couple of weeks. So the second leg of the Women's Champions League quarterfinal, which Arsenal defeated Bayern Munich at the Emirates Stadium. The captain, Kim Little, got a serious hamstring injury, and she's out for the entire season as well. However, she will probably be back by the time pre-season starts. She's a Scottish international. However, she did retire from international football. And then Leah Williamson, the England captain. So the England are the European champions when it comes to women's football. And Leah Williamson, who's the vice captain at Arsenal ladies, and is now the captain, because the the current captain is out for the season. So Leah Williamson gets injured in the mammoth game after the international break on Wednesday, where Arsenal, it was basically a 6-pointer. Arsenal were in 3rd position, only 3 points off Man United. However, lost the game, lost another player, Williamson. Another attacking player that has a lot of assists and goals. Caitlin Ford is also injured. New signing Lena Hurtig from earlier this season is also injured. So all these players are injured. And again, nothing was expected against a very strong Wolfsburg team, whereby I think they're second in their league, because it's this weird thing where Arsenal played the top 2 teams of Germany, knocked out Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, and now they're playing Wolfsburg. And then come to today. So all these injuries, you've got a couple of players that's not far off, that's also injured. So now you've got probably close to 10 top players that's out injured. And the coach, Jonas Edeveld, he's a Swedish coach, very smart guy, very good tactician, and somehow he was able to scrape something out of this team. So first of all, played Wolfsburg last season, got knocked out over 2 legs in the quarterfinals. It was, I think it might have been 1-1 or 2-2 at the Emirates, and then Arsenal lost comfortably away from home. So that was a very disappointing exit in the quarterfinals last season, but Arsenal hopefully learnt from it, which they seem to have. However, terrible start. First 20 minutes, 2 mistakes, 2 goals. So Wolfsburg, obviously being the home team, attacked quite a bit, and Arsenal trying to play out from the back, which actually kind of helped in the second half, playing out from the back. Obviously made 2 big mistakes and 2 quite easy goals in the first 20 minutes. Arsenal women 0, Wolfsburg 2. And it's obviously looking dire. And then Arsenal started to get back into the game, started being a little bit more physical. The referee very disappointingly blowing against Arsenal, because we are trying to obviously portray a physical style of play. We're playing 3-4-3 formation with one or both of the wide players tucking into midfield to help it become a 3-5 or 3-6-1. 3-5-1. I think it's 3-5-1, yeah, not 3-6-1. Which means, obviously, when we don't have the ball, that we have more bodies in midfield, because I think it was a 4-3-3 for Wolfsburg. So, tactically, quite a very good game. I thought Arsenal were obviously technically inferior to Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg seemed to have a little bit more technical ability, but the fighting spirit was phenomenal. So Arsenal getting a goal from our left centre-back. So obviously we played a back 3. So the left centre-back of the 3, Raffaelli, the Brazilian captain, scored from a header. 2-1 going into halftime, and obviously Arsenal now have the ump. And then in the second half, started again a bit jittery, but then Arsenal were able to create a fantastic goal. Victoria Pelova, one of our January signings that has been doing well, that has been playing regularly from Ajax, she created a goal, and Stina Blackstenius, our Swedish centre forward, scored a vital second away goal. And that's how the game ended. Arsenal had little periods of control in the second half. Wolfsburg had 1 or 2 chances, not clear cut, Both teams ended up with 3 shots on target. I think it was 12-7 in terms of shots in total, with 3 shots on target each, and a slightly more ball from Wolfsburg in terms of ball possession. It was 53-47%. So quite a big story here, because I'm trying to get information out there to with regards to Arsenal women. Our team is playing through adversity. It's Arsenal. It's still Arsenal, even though we are so about the Arsenal men's team that's continuing to disappoint. However, that's another story. It could still change. But the Arsenal women 2-2, and on public holiday in South Africa and a public holiday in England, bank holiday in England, and I'm not entirely sure what day it is in South Africa, but it's another public holiday. So Monday, the 1st of May in the afternoon, Arsenal. Look at this thing moving here. This is it the jitteriness of the Arsenal men's team. So Arsenal ladies are at home at the Emirates Stadium. They've nearly got 50,000 tickets sold. Probably going to be over 50,000 tickets by the time that this video goes out. And then trying to get towards that magical 60,000 for the Arsenal women's second leg semi-final. Barcelona's leading Chelsea 1-0. Strongly think Barcelona will get through. However, Chelsea is another team that plays through adversity as well. And I still think Barcelona will go through. And I think Arsenal are favourites now. They just need to hopefully get 1 or 2 of the players that's near to get them back in. But unfortunately, our super key players, who could have assisted us in possibly going on to win the league, win the Champions League, they are all injured. It's going to be very difficult against a Barcelona team that hammered us last season in the group stages, home and away. So I think it might have been 8-0 on aggregate. It could have been 8 or 9-0 on aggregate over the 2 league games that was played last season. However, Arsenal obviously learned a trick or 2. So I won't write them off to go all the way. I've written them off after the league loss, but it's mostly got to do with injuries, not the way they're playing, because they're playing. Even they're still playing well. They're still creating chances, maybe creating less so now with all the injuries. But they're still in games, and that's the most important thing. Up the Arsenal ladies, 1 May, Champions League, second leg semi-final. The games are on the DAZN YouTube channel, free of charge. Let's support them. It's a public holiday. I think it's an early evening kickoff. Up you ladies.